All right, workout is going to be arms today, and I got my pre-workout shake. Sipping on that. Very sour, very strong, but it does work. And I feel like caffeine and any kind of, no, not for you, coach. Any kind of pre-workout or caffeine, I would say it's a good tool, a good aid for your workout, but you don't want to do too much of it because, for instance, you use it when you're tired, you use it on a cut. There's even pre-workouts that are like, I don't know exactly what they are, but they have some kind of extract, maybe like green tea or something like that, and it gives you energy without the caffeine. But if you get to the point like Coach here, who's obviously fiending for some pre-workout shake, and you take, 3, 4, 5 white monsters a day, or you're just double scooping, triple scooping pre-workout, and you're just itching all over, poison ivy everywhere. Sorry, I had to make a Sopranos reference, but I don't think that's the way to go. You gotta have it in moderation, just like everything in life. If you do everything in moderation, it can help you. Obviously, a pre-workout can help you get a bigger lift, especially on the days that you really need it. You go in, you get up, you're a little tired. You want to get the most out of your lift, but you need it. But you mistime it. You take it too late in the day, you're gonna be up all night. You take too much of it. Look at the Trend twins, 700 milligrams, end up in the hospital. You got to be careful. But do I think it's a great tool? Yes, I think it's an excellent tool. And I think if it's a day where you just don't have any energy, yeah, go for it. Or you want to have a big lift, sure. Just make sure that you're careful with it because it does elevate your heart rate. It's going to make your system work a little harder. And it's always just good to keep everything in moderation. It's a good rule of thumb, no matter what it is. It could be, too many donuts, 50 donuts, too many donuts, 50 scoops of pre-workout, too many scoops of pre-workout. It's just about finding that happy balance to where it's helping you, but you're not hurting yourself. Like Coach here, who's having obviously some withdrawals over here. So I'm going to finish up my pre-workout, continue sipping on that, and then I'm going to get to arms. That was a successful workout. I went into it and I've been going into my workouts with the mentality of 1 more rep, or 5 more pounds, kind of. Because if I can improve by just a little bit each time, I think that's, winning, especially on a cut. That's how you approach a bulk or main gaining anyways. And I do think that a lot of people downplay the effectiveness of intensity on a cut, because when you think about it, you do end up losing strength. That is factual. But when you think about it objectively, you feel mentally as though you're getting weaker, because you're getting lighter. I'm 15 pounds down right now on this cut. So in my head, I'm like, well, I can't do as much weight. Why not? If pound per pound I've gotten stronger, which is true, I should be able to lift close to the amount of weight I've been lifting. Welcome. But if I go into each set or each workout like, okay, I'm not gonna hit this reps, I'm gonna drop the weight immediately, I'm not gonna make the gains I should. I'm not gonna preserve as much muscle, I think intensity is king, because you have to go into it like, okay, I'm not just matching it. Last time I got, let's say I'm doing barbell rows, I got 120 for 8 last time. All right, let's go for 120 for 9, right? Or, bench press, I got 165 for 5, let's go for 6, And eventually you do have to accept that you've lost a little strength. It might get to the point where, like, you know what, I can only do 4 reps on 165, I'll drop it to 160, or 155 and crank up the reps to maybe like 8 to 12, you know what I mean? It's not that your strength's going down that much, it's that in your head you think, well, I'm losing weight, I don't have as much energy, I'm not as full or as fed, I can get injured. But, I think if you warm up properly and just listen to your body, you'll know when you have to drop the weight. And you should keep trying to push the envelope and get stronger. You know what I mean? There's quite a few people who get stronger on cuts because they continue that process. They continue that process of continuously trying to progressive overload, but they don't have as much fear in terms of getting injured. You know what I mean? When you push it as hard as you can the entire time, you will know, okay, I can only get 8 this time. But if you truly push it to failure, you'll actually get the most out of your workout. So you can't go into it with a mentality of, I can't do it. You have to go in, maybe the night before you do it, you go in and you say, all right, I got 150 for 8 reps last time. I'm going to get 9. I'm going to get 9. I'm going to work as hard as I can. And you still keep with your good form. And you still, push yourself. If you can get more than 9, do it. You know what I mean? Push yourself to failure. Why not? You should be training as intensely as you can for whatever you're doing, whether it be sports or whether it be, for other reasons. Even people who are just working out to get fitter, you know what I mean? You should push yourself, and that's how you get better. So I'm feeling pretty good, and the scale's saying good, measurements are getting better, so hopefully that definition starts coming in, and I'm going to keep on trucking. Tomorrow is either chest or back, we'll see, but more cardio for me, and I will see you guys tomorrow.